you'll feel absolutely no vibration coming from the motors.
Yeah.
So it's super smooth and it's super, and it's always adjusting in real time, so
It's controlled itself.
yeah, it controls itself. You never have to deal with it. Also, the suspension is also always, you know, doesn't require adjustment,
Yeah.
because you know, you level it here through these 4 points.
And it's rubber.
Yeah, well, it's a mix of Viton and silicone and 2 other materials. It doesn't crack. It's ozone resistant and UV resistant, and there's no seam. They're made in one piece. So are the belts, and that's it. I mean, it's like this entire thing weighs about 30 kilos. These 2 assemblies. So horizontally, it's super stable. Like most suspended tables are suspended from under, so they won't tip over. This one has a super stability.
Suspended from the top and from the bottom.
Well, the bottom is, there's no,
That's no suspension. Then.
no, there's no suspension. It's only from the top.
All right.
Yeah.
So basically, you have a pole goes
It's
up.
like a suspended
have-
bridge.
Yeah.
It's like a yeah, you have a post that goes down, and we use a passive pulley here, because what happens is that there's no pull to the platter towards the motors, because this is grounded to the base, right? Yeah, so it's all logical, right? And also the bearing is self-centered. This bearing is, I mean, bearings and turntables are very important. This is a bearing that we make. I can't quite show you the bearing, but I can, whoop, let's be careful here. If you hold it like this and you try to move the bearing sideways to see the slop, there's absolutely no slop whatsoever. And it's a continuous pump, but the pump is not between the shaft and the sleeve, it's outside of the sleeve.
Can you explain it again?
Yeah,
Is it oil?
there's oil
All right. Yeah.
in an oil bath, and in a Mitchell bearing, let's say, an all inverted bearing, what they do is that they put an Archimede spiral
Yeah.
between the sleeve and the shaft. But every time you get at the end of that, you get a click, because a bearing always has 2-point contact, the top and the bottom. There's nothing really happening in the middle, right? But we put ours outside of the sleeve, so that there's actually no clicking.
Okay.
And this bearing, if you turn it, you'll see that it turns forever. It's not only tight. Now to listen to it.
Okay.
It's absolutely
Silent.
quiet.
But bearing itself, is it sapphire or metal?
Is it what?
Is it sapphire or metal bearing or?
Oh, the
what is
ball,
it?
you mean?
Yeah.
We
Ball.
use a ceramic ball.
It's a ceramic.
Yeah, we tested with ruby, or synthetic ruby. I like the ceramic better.
Okay.
On the lower one, we use a steel ball, a very high precision steel ball, just because in case somebody cracks it, you know, the lower is a stabilizer, so it's
not
not
that important.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But the platters are made exactly the same way, except for the mat. They have exactly the same mass, and they turn at exactly the same speed.
If you want to use the mat, like velvet mat or something,
Why would
is
you?
it what you would recommend it or not?
No, I would not recommend doing anything to this, because it's complete. I mean, within itself, I tested a lot of different materials for this.
For the top, yeah.
Yeah, and if we use only like Delrin, it doesn't sound as alive. If you just use carbon fiber, it's not enough. But the combination together is really, really good.
Okay.
Yeah, we voice this table against master tape and test pressing, right? So the idea is not to make it sound the way
Artificial.
artificial, is to
colors.
make it sound exactly as close to possible
And
to the source.
We clamp, that's for reason?
Yeah, the clamp what we use, yeah, the clamp helps. This clamp you can actually tighten on, right?
Yeah, look it up.
You can lock it up, but it's actually better to just drop it. And this clamp is made so that the bearing does not connect too tightly to the vinyl. It's insulated by this piece of Delrin. So the thing is with tightening clamps is that you make the vinyl to the bearing, and whatever noise might be in the bearing is going to be transmitted to
Goes
the...
straight through.
So that's not a good idea.
Mhm.
Clamps that push the record down put tension on the vinyl, and then the vinyl becomes like a trampoline. If you think of
Yeah.
such a vacuum platter, it does the same thing,
Mm.
right? So I just like to just drop it and forget it.
How about no clamp at all?
Well, we can listen and you can see if you hear the
Because
difference.
some people prefer to have.
If they don't want to use
No
the clamp, they don't have to use
The
the clamp.
records
I find to
get
me that the
bigger.
clamp sounds better, but it's not a super heavy clamp.
Mhm.
It's not a, we tested at Bill Parrish, at GTT Audio. He had the big, the big Sonyas and the Solution system and everything, and we tested like 7 different clamps, and it came out that this was the one that, we both preferred, and it's a little bit out of luck, I have to tell you, because, you design those things, and if something's better, then I'll change my design. But we didn't find anything really. I
Yeah.
mean, we tested with the $3,200 harmonics clamp, and that sounded more artificial. It removed some of the information in the harmonics.
Yep.
I don't like ring clamps because they always ring, and that ringingness goes back into the vinyl. Yeah, just
Yeah.
natural, just normal. But I understand some people like no clamps.
Mhm.
It makes sense.
Louis, could you tell us please more about the background of yourself and the company?
Well,
Where it all came from?
Well, it came from, I mean, just like you, I started playing with audio when I was 15 years old, and I always took things apart and put them back together, and I studied physics of waves at university in pure science, and and I worked as a commercial photographer for 20 years, and light waves and sound waves, very similar. Very similar issues when you deal with optics and when you deal with sound, In optics, when you have refraction through lenses, the light waves become out of phase and you have blurriness. It's the same with sound, you know how important it is to keep the phase correct between the frequencies. So it's very, very similar. They travel the same way. And I also have a lot of mechanical background. So when you put all of that together, it did this. I mean, I was rebuilding racing motorcycle engines, and when you take a Honda engine apart and you put it back together, and it runs at 15,000 RPM, it's like a Formula One engine, more or less,
Yeah.
And then you look at a turntable and you say, there's nothing to get rid of vibrations, and this is supposed to be vibration neutral. It makes no sense, right? There's no technology in turntables. And the little technology there makes very little sense, and they are bearing. By definition is noisy, right?
The pump, yeah.
Well, not just the pump. The bearing, for it to turn, there has to be an opening. Because if there's no opening, it won't turn, right? And the air always rushes out of it. So it always goes like this. So if you put a stethoscope on a air bearing using turntable, you'll hear it whistle. Well, air never comes out like, it goes like, it buffets. So that's even worse, because then it gives pulsion vibrations, So, I mean, you look at magnetic